worship and what it is to truly worship, and why was it so important that the devil wanted Jesus to worship him. And we had such an awesome time last week understanding that when worship, whenever what the devil was trying to get Jesus to do is totally sell out to him. Soul, spirit, body, mind, everything. That is what worship is, a total selling out to God. Now, when you think about worship, a lot of people worship things and other stuff, and they sell out to it. So when I thought about it this week, about worshiping, and I just couldn't get it out of my system because if the church need to do anything above everything, we need to worship God. We need to worship him. Now think about this. We're all in here this morning together, and this is called worship service, right? So we all came together, and we're in worship service. It's hard to worship together if you have not worshiped as an individual. You hear me? If you have not had personal worship with God, it gets even harder to worship collectively. Worshiping God is first personal. Then you can do it collectively. But it starts first personally. A lot of people come to church to worship, and they should. But in many cases, they have not worshiped personally. So when they come to church, they're expecting the church to get them there. They expect the church on Sunday morning, the worship hour, to get them there. When in actuality, they should already be there. You shouldn't be dependent on nobody to get you into worship. That's a sad commentary to how expectation get me to worship. Worship should be personal, a connection with God, not a disconnection. And some people are so busy with life and the things of life that worshiping God is not their top priority. That's not their top priority. Now, worshiping God should be all of our top priority. That should be taking place in your homes, with your family, and it should be worship should be part of your individual life when you're driving, when you have some free time or whatever. And worship must first come from the heart. You just can't open your mouth. There has to be a real connection. And I think because a lot of Christians are not truly worshiping as much as we should, then there becomes the disconnect when we get together collectively, like a group. Worshiping does a lot of things for a person individually. When you worship God individually, listen carefully, you can put up with a lot more stuff that goes on in groups. When you worship God individually, you can put up with a lot more stuff that go on in your personal home. Because sometimes things in our own home is not according as it should be. But if the individual is worshiping God, you will be able to put up with any tension or strife that may be in your personal life. But if you're not worshiping, then tensions come. And A lot of stuff happen in our soul realm. Bitterness can come, resentment can come, all kind of stuff can come when you are not a worshiper. I look at worshiping as purifying the soul. You know, the soul can get a lot of contamination in it. And worshiping purifies the soul. And if an individual is not worshiping, a lot of junk have clogged up the soul. It's like if your kitchen sink get clogged up, you go get some Drano, and it pushes out those things that have clogged up that sink. I believe that's what worship does. And if you're not worshiping, you could be clogged up with a lot of things in this world that has bothered you. And with that also can come health problems. You know, if a sink clogged up, it's not healthy. And if an individual is clogged up with the cares of this world, they are not healthy. How do we purify our soul? We begin to lift our hand to God. We ain't worried about nobody else. We ain't concerned about other people's opinion. Somewhere you got to get to a place where it's just you and Jesus. And you begin to lift your hand and tell God, I thank you. It's good to have collective worship like we're doing today. It's good to have your prayer partner around you and you pray with your prayer partner. But there's nothing like personal worship. Because nobody knows what you're going through like you know and Jesus knows. And when you begin to tell God, I thank you for all the things, and you know that's why Jesus said you have to steal away to your secret closet and pray to God in what? Secret. And he that sees you praying in secret shall reward you openly. I think if we really check ourselves and was truly honest with ourselves, and we had to grade ourselves from 1 to 10, how much do we worship Jesus through the week? I think a lot of us are flunk out. Because the cares of this life get us so busy that if we really was to say, let me grade myself. Did I worship him Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And most of us say, well, no, Pastor, I didn't. That could be the cause of so many emotional problems, spiritual problems, health problems. A merry heart is like medicine. A merry heart comes from spending time with God. In other words, merry heart, talking to God, clean, just renew us. When David was clogged down with all his issues, David went by himself and said, Lord, create in me a clean heart. Lord, you got to renew in me a right spirit. David said, something inside of me is not right. And he said, I want to be right on the inside. So I need a clean heart and I need a right spirit. He said, make me to hear laughter again. Make me to be able to witness again. Bring me back to that new spirit when I first met you, Jesus. Worship is a personal thing that starts inside of us. And there must be a breaking in the realm of the spirit. John 4 and 24 said that God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him what? In spirit, in truth. Now, I want to talk, our men, the men. If anybody need to worship God, we need to worship God. Oh, but that old macho stuff get in the way, don't it? And we just know that we got it. We just have it. We just have it. You know how it is. We got to be strong. We supposed to walk around as if we don't need Jesus. We got it together. We are men. We don't have to cry out to God. You weak when you worship God. You know how people say about that. That, why you got to cry out to God? You're supposed to be a man. That's why I need God. Because the Bible called men the priests of the home. Spiritual leaders. And how in the world are you going to be a spiritual leader and you ain't spent no time with Christ? See, men are called into leadership, spiritual leadership. And sometimes we just don't worship like we should. Sometimes I see men, the ladies, y'all are easy to express yourself. And I don't mean worship have to be all this here, but when a woman feel it, they'll let you know it. Sometimes men feel it and we try to hold it down. Like, suppress it. Why do we want to suppress it? Because to the world, they call that weak. But God doesn't call it weak. Matter of fact, the first worshiping person on earth that ever worshiped God was man. We worshiped God before the women showed up. Y'all hear what I said? Yeah. Adam worshiped God before Eve. Matter of fact, Adam had to lead Eve into worship. Glory be to God. So, men, we need God so bad that we have to learn to let that little pride go and worship. Worship by yourself. Talk to God by yourself. Back in the day when it came to even prayer, if you was a deacon up here praying, you had to bring it in the prayer. What I mean, bring it. You had to, what we call show enough, move people when you prayed. When the deacon prayed, they had to move people. They had that tone and they hum, and then people out there were saying, talk to him. Talk deep. Call him sir. All that kind of stuff. But prayer and worship is not to move people. It's not designed to move people. You see? Even preaching is to move you to God, but not just to move you. See, when I preach, I am not trying to move you emotionally only. I'm trying to shift your mind to God. I'm not just trying to move you. We've been moving for 400 years and hadn't moved into worship yet, in many cases, not in all. So it's not moving a person only, it's moving us into the mindset of God. And if we're not careful, we would do more things to impress people than to impress God. How can we make it in this world, and if our goal is to impress people? And a lot of Christians, now that they're born again, they're into the body of Christ, they are still focused on impressing people.
Thank you for tuning in to the Word of Excellence broadcast, which can be heard here daily on Family Radio 1490 AM, Monday through Friday at 12 noon. Be sure to watch our weekly television broadcast on WMOR Sundays at 5:30 a.m., WACX Super Channel 55 Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., CTN Local Tuesday 8:30 p.m., and CTN National Saturday 10 a.m. You're welcome to join us at our live Sunday worship service at 10 a.m. and Wednesday midweek service at 7:30 p.m. For more information about obtaining copies of any message, please contact us at 863-422-9222 or visit our website at www.pclctheview.org. Our prayer is that God will continue to richly bless you.